Hello, everyone. My name is Kyle Schmidt. I'm a third-year student of political science and minoring in entrepreneurship. Today, I'm speaking on heat policy's effect on cyclical poverty. It's a quantitative analysis of city planning operations and their intersectional community impacts. My mentor is Gregory Pierce. He's the co-director of the Luskin Center and a professor in the urban planning department. Climate change is altering our baseline climate system, and predictions say it's going to get worse, as much as 4.5 degrees Fahrenheit over the next century. Many of us Californians and those living in desert climates may not think much of this seemingly insignificant change. However, this is expounding already existing community stressors, including those on our electrical grid, and increasing the risk of wildfires. Heat increases will also risk bodily harm to many of our most vulnerable residents, making them struggle for their most basic necessity. Changes in temperature also have major adverse effects on our agriculture and distribution systems, and we are not prepared for them. More than that, heat kills. Heat waves are the #1 weather-related cause of death in the United States, causing 7,800 deaths between 1990 and 2019 alone. While not the hottest of the bunch, LA County is one of the leaders in heat policy in the United States. As the largest county in the United States, LA County has a heat prevention office, numerous heat officers, an integrated public health department, and public outreach campaigns geared towards keeping residents safe when they go outdoors. Programs such as Ready LA County help people provide useful tips and tricks to keep county residents safe, and even directs them to county-sponsored resources. And if they don't have access to air conditioning, no problem. The county offers cooling centers to make sure that no matter who you are in your income bracket, you have safe, accessible air conditioning. You would think that LA County is the place to be when you're looking for a refuge from the heat. However, on our next slide, we'll see that that may not be the case. The way that LA County is structured, it only covers unincorporated areas. So despite covering such a large geographic area and a population of over 6 million people, there are 88 incorporated cities that fall under LA County geography but are locked out from the heat benefits and programs that the county offers residents. Because each city is unique, one of the main similarities are their use of planning documents. My preliminary work on this project was mapping out what cities kept up with state regulations around planning. And beyond that, did they go further to address climate change and heat? Well, I found that 17 out of 88 municipalities referenced and discussed extreme heat. Only 17, whereas 57 had hazard mitigation plans, and 26 had climate action plans with reference to heat. While these may be telling data points, not all cities are the same, and not all these reports were the same quality. After realizing the discrepancies in quality and presence of planning documents, I devised my research question for this project. Do minoritized LA County communities, predominantly clustered in low-income neighborhoods, bear a disproportionate brunt of climate change's heat impacts? And what is the relative obligation of small cities to tackle the heat crisis? I really wanted to understand the obligation of cities to their citizens and questioned whether small cities really had the capacity to do what was expected of them to keep their residents safe. The above diagram is an addendum to the LA County Heat Report. It shows a visual of a newly instituted interactive mapping software. It identifies weather conditions, vulnerability indicators, and heat health action items, as well as health concerns in respective regions. The map lets individuals and jurisdictions, free of charge, overlay demographic and social information over heat patterns to explore the effects that heat has in their communities. The data reveals that the most at-risk communities by heat are majorly jurisdictions that lack centralized planning documents and natural protections against heat, such as forests, mountains, and bodies of water. Similarly, my preliminary data has yielded that low-size, low-income communities are significantly more likely to not have climate action plans or heat measures befitting to their heat vulnerability indexes. My project utilizes a two-pronged approach towards data analysis. The first step is coding of the 88 cities in LA County. The second is interviews with city planning officials and the coding of their respective interviews and weighing them against their planning documents. The first step will be utilizing a data collection protocol pioneered by Dr. Kelly Turner, also from UCLA, determining whether, where, and in what way heat is mentioned in city general plans, hazard mitigation plans, and climate mitigation or action plans. Coding to the extent to which heat is addressed to evaluate fit and mismatch between the interventions proposed, and heat adaptation goals articulated in each plan. Then identifying and coding mismatches will examine if the stated intervention addresses the temperature type, thereby influencing heat adaptation goals. The data will then be organized in the following strategies: code occurrence by plan, code frequency by plan, code occurrence by city, code frequency by city, plan content summary, and city content summary. If we look at the methods slide before you, you will see the different demographic information and different word choices we are looking for when we're coding the planning documents. 1 being heat as an issue, 2 being heat data, information about heat, 3 being cool roofs, 4 being cool pavements, 5 being green roofs, 6 being green infrastructure, 7 being urban tree canopy, 8 being other shade, 9 being cooling centers, 10 being early warning systems, and 11 being heat education and outreach. Based on the coding of municipal planning documents, I found that there was a statistical difference in heat days on whether a city has or does not have a climate action plan. In the diagram to your right, you will see on the box plot to the left, it has an average 22 more heat days than the one on the right. Utilizing a 2-prop z-test, I found that there was a strong statistical significance concerning high heat days and relative climate adoption plans, while the current literature highlights that there's a strong climate policy can reduce heat levels over a long period of time. Additionally, this could indicate that the most at-risk areas are also ill-equipped to respond to heat due to a confluence of factors impeding them from focusing more on heat. The important part of this finding is that the current areas which do not have a climate action plan are the most at risk and therefore need the most assistance in making sure they keep their populations safe. Currently, I've conducted or heard back from 13 municipalities concerning their heat adoption strategies, or in some cases, a lack thereof. Talking with a variety of cities from all income levels and demographics revealed that across all groups, there was a lack of county, of state, and of national support for heat planning and mitigation activities, coming in the form of a lack of grants, a lack of resource funding, and moreover than that, a lack of community support. The interesting component to this finding was that many cities were actively seeking out ways to improve in this area, even turning to my advisor and I in searching out UCLA assistance and finding heat mitigation funding. Furthermore, the lowest size and income cities highlighted that funding and staff shortages, especially as exacerbated by COVID-19, were key reasons they could not fulfill their mitigation goals. Through our conversations, they expressed a deep desire to succeed in their efforts, but were physically unable to do so based on the recommendations and requirements of this local and state government. Lastly, we found that the highest size and income cities actually exceeded their goals as stated on the planning documents, a telling sign that these are doable if funding is there. Let's set the record straight. Low income, high minority areas are the most at risk for heat effects. Moreover than that, there is no environmentally equitable way to ensure in the current status quo that they will be able to address those concerns, even if they have planning documents saying they will. They just simply can't afford it. The size of the city also plays a huge role. A city with 100 people cannot pay for the amount of climate and heat mitigation that a city of 10,000, 100,000, 1 million people can pay for, regardless of the average citizen's income. Even cities in low-income areas face implementation barriers, which is the physical cost of actually making these climate policies into a reality. The last important note of discussion is that heat is a recognized issue. However, when you get to environmental justice and equity, there are no measures in place to make sure that the most disadvantaged communities can have access to the same heat preventative measures of larger cities. In conclusion, the current system placing the onus of heat management onto all cities, regardless of their size, regardless of their capacity, is an outdated model. It positively harms the most vulnerable citizens in LA County. Overburdening small and medium-sized cities should not be the go-to strategy. Our efforts will not be in vain. We need support from county, state, and federal and private partners to ensure that our heat preventative measures are actually heat preventative. Lastly, I just want to acknowledge my mentor, Gregory Pierce, CJ Gabe, Bates Detweiler, and then planning staff from numerous cities.